What's going on, everybody? My name is Mike Montgomery, and today I'm gonna show you how I built these DIY pool loungers or day beds. And the cool part is we've got 2 designs to choose from. So let's get started on modern builds. Season 3. It's the start of Modern Build Season 3.
I'm building these poolside loungers for the Reset Hotel in 29 Palms, California, right next to Joshua Tree. The material I'm working with is 7-foot long, 1x6 thermally treated ash from a company called Arbor Wood. After laying out the boards, I decided that 7 slats looked pretty good in a vertical orientation. I took the measurements of the platforms, spacers included, and that let me know how long I need to cut my 4x4s that I'll be using to create the structure for this underneath. I used my speed square to make sure I got a 90-degree cut, and I had to do 2 passes with my circular saw to cut through this full post. We'll need 4 of these for each of the platforms. The idea is to have these spaced out evenly on the bottom side of the platform, running perpendicular to the slats. This little drilling jig is what I used to make sure that all of my pilot holes were in the same locations on each board. This is going to make assembly easier and give us a 1-800 Super Pro look. And so far, this jig only works for drilling the ends of the board, but I'm going to make a quick alteration to it. And I made these marks in the jig for drilling the holes in the middle of the board. I just need to line the one edge up 2 inches over from wherever I want to drill holes, and they'll be centered in the same locations. Using this guide saved a ton of time, and we're just going to line up the screws with the center of our 4x4s underneath. I'm looking for a 3-inch overhang on all sides, the same width as the piece of plywood for our drilling template. And next, I attached these boards with some 2¼ inch exterior grade stainless steel trim screws. I want each slat to be spaced 1/8 of an inch apart, and a paint stirring stick is that exact same thickness. By using that and constantly checking with my speed square against the edge and the 4x4, I made sure that I had a good square platform. This thermally treated ash is supposed to be a really good outdoor material. It's definitely dense. It reminds me a lot of a tropical hardwood, but easier to work with.
And now I can put in these middle supports.
These were easy to center up by eye on our screw line. I just needed to make sure that the overhang was the same on each side. These planks are a full 1 inch thick, and I really think I could have gotten by with just 1 support in the center, but by having 2, I know now that this is going to be really heavy duty. I just had to replace this 1 screw that I stripped.
Nailed it!
And now I could flip my platform over now that my 4x4s are attached and start working on the apron. I marked each of my pieces to cut in place, that way I knew everything was going to be a perfect fit. The ends are going to be really simple, just a butt joint exposed on the sides. I cut these pieces to length and started screwing my apron on. I'm primarily focusing on attaching these skirt boards to the 4x4s rather than each other. The 4x4s are going to be our main connection point, and that's going to take a lot of stress off anywhere that I've got the ash boards screwed together. And in hindsight, I think it would be cool if you put feet on the corners of the platform. That way it had a little bit of a hovering effect. That idea ties into design number 2, so stay tuned for that. I sanded all of the deck boards with 150 grit, and that gave me some really good looking grain. And here's what the prototype looked like in place next to the hot tub. Now let's make a second. I loaded up some 4x4s and a lot of those deck boards with me, and I headed over to my shed where I was going to build the rest of these, where I've got all my tools, supplies, and a little bit of shade.
I haven't been in California long, and I know if I build all these outside, I'm gonna get completely roasted by the sun.
While I build the second platform with long slats, I'm going to talk a little bit about the design. Now you'll notice I'm using 4x4s for the internal structure, and you could easily use 2x4s as well if you built out a frame. I'm using the 4x4s because Ben and I had a lot of these on site at the hotel while we were building, and one good thing about this is these posts are really beefy, and I think they're going to be a lot less prone to warping over time. We got some really straight 4x4s, and I think they're going to do really well with the hot desert climate in 29 Palms and being right next to a pool getting wet all the time. If you do end up using 2x4s, just make sure to adjust the jig so you're hitting the center of those boards instead of the 4x4s. Aside from that, all of your apron cuts and assembly would be pretty much the same. If you end up building any of these, leave me a comment down below on how you might have altered the design based on your materials or preference. One thing I did the second time through is avoid drilling into the end grain of our side apron pieces. This daybed platform was also complete after I sanded it up to 150 grit. Then I loaded it up in the truck to take to the Reset Hotel, and it's time to start building design number 2. But first, I want to give a big thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring today's episode. Squarespace is your one-stop shop to build your own website or online store. And now with their cutting-edge design tools like Blueprint AI, Squarespace's AI-enhanced website builder, that has never been easier. And with Squarespace's integrated SEO tools, you can get discovered fast. Squarespace does all the technical back-end work to make sure that you show up on search engines more often. With Squarespace Invoices, you get paid faster and can impress clients with on-brand invoices. And streamline your workflow from proposals to contracts, invoices, and seamless online payments, all in one place. And with Squarespace email campaigns, you've got all the tools you need to engage your clients, promote your services, and build your business built in. So to learn more, make sure and follow my link down in the description. That's squarespace.com/modernbuilds. And then when it's time to make your site live, don't forget to use my code modernbuilds for 10% off your first site, store, or domain through Squarespace. As always, huge thanks to Squarespace and you all for watching. Now let's finish up these loungers. Design number 2 is going to be utilizing slats that go horizontal rather than long ways. My deck boards are 7 feet long. I'll be cutting those in half to 42 inches. And in total, I'm going to need 14 of these for the platform top and 2 for a cap on each end. 16. Conveniently, I'm able to use the same drilling jig as before, and I just need to make pilot holes on the ends of each of these boards. And one of the nice things about building in my workshop is I had a countersink bit that I was able to use, so I'll recess the screws on each of our slats. The 4x4 posts that go under these platforms are going to be long, but I'm only going to need 2 of them. The goal is for this to be the same length of 14 deck boards with spacers. Time to assemble. I want to make sure that my slat on each end is square before I secure it down, and that my overhang is the correct amount. Right now, my overhang on the sides is 4 inches, but that's going to only be 3 inches once I get the bottom piece on the side put in. I locked in the deck boards on each end, that way I knew my 4x4 rails underneath were sitting square and straight, and then I got after it, screwing my boards in place. And now we're about to see how good the math is on that 4x4 cut. And I've got to say, we were close. Just a little bit long. Dang. This is not a problem though. After I screwed in this deck board, I unscrewed the one on the end. I marked its edge on the 4x4 and then I cut it with the circular saw, and this is only going to get me halfway through, so to complete the cut, I used my Japanese pull saw. A reciprocating saw would have worked really well here also. Now that all of the boards on this end are sitting flush, I screwed it in place and this platform was complete. I just wanted to double check I didn't need a brace in the middle, and I didn't at this width. Feels really sturdy. And now before I install my 2 end pieces, I'm gonna need to rip them down to 4 1/4 inches wide. Just a little bit more narrow than our whole platform is tall. That will allow these apron boards to float above the ground just a little bit. A 4x4 is actually 3.5 inches wide, 3.5 inches tall, and so this 1/4 inch difference is going to create a really nice hovering or floating effect. And next, I cut my 2 side pieces to the exact same length as my 4x4s, and then I ripped these along the length so that they're 3 1/4 inches wide to subtract to account for the 1 inch thick deck boards, and now the bottom of all of our bottom pieces are going to be flush. I spaced these screws out evenly. This is going to match the other platforms, and the final inset from the edge of this side piece to the edge of our platform is 3 inches, like I mentioned earlier. And that's one platform successful. Before I sand it though, I'm going to go ahead and assemble the second platform. Assembling the second platform went a little bit smoother because I knew exactly how long I needed to cut my 4x4s this time. So safe to say, no alterations at the end of this run. So far, if you're liking this video, make sure and click like, leave me a comment below, and subscribe with that notification bell. I spent the rest of the evening sanding. It took about an hour and a half to get these looking really nice, ready for finish once all the platforms are built. I loaded these up into the bed of my truck, and again, I'm grateful to have this thing because for the first time, I've got a full 8-foot bed, and this is convenient. Those things are heavy, but I am glad I've got help unloading them. I took the back entrance to the hotel with a little sneaky gate to the pool area. Right now, construction is about 98% complete, and you can see just how cool of a pool space the Reset Hotel is gonna have. And the wind was howling a little bit while we were setting these up.
That camera got knocked. How'd that happen?
The second daybed with long slats got set over here also by itself. You can see the other in the background there.
I'm kidding. It's only like 5 pounds.
And we're done.
Beauty shots.
So we're gonna start these after shots in reverse order, starting with our horizontal slatted platform. I'm a bigger fan than I expected of the low profile design, but I really love the floating effect that we get by that 1/4 inch lift. I'm glad I designed these so the platforms originally had a little extra width, because the first cushions that we looked at to design everything were a little bit more narrow, as you can tell by these shots on the first set of platforms we built. Daybed design number 1 still looks awesome, and the added height does make it more comfortable from a seated position. Let me know which design is your preference down in the description below. Oh, and whenever Ben posts his video for the large daybeds, I'll leave those linked as well.
So let me know down in the comments which design you like most, and we'll see you next time at the Reset Hotel on Modern Builds. But yeah, at the Reset Hotel. Links are down in the description. Book it. I got a discount link, so book it. Bye.